to represent what it felt like to stand in that place. And another mentor that I had was the painter Eric Aho, who mostly paints plein air outside, and working alongside him was really great in terms of seeing an intuitive process, which I really related to. So for me as a process as a painter, I work really intuitive and without a lot of conscious thought. The making of a painting is so much more interesting to me than a finished painting. I tend to work in a very messy, seemingly disorganized way, and usually have 6 or 7 paintings in some stage of process all the time. I don't think I've ever worked on one painting at a time. Some of them succeed and some of them fail, and I like to have successful work and failed work in the same room together, especially in my studio. I think there's an honesty there that kind of makes it better for the next painting. And the ones that end up getting painted over and become a history underneath the next painting, which is a slight nod to the nature underneath made objects. I think and plan a lot before and after a painting, but not during. Too much intentional focus leads to my most inevitably mediocre work. My best works were the paintings that I was really irreverent and didn't view as important in the process. I intellectually contextualized before and after, but not during. And I read something that one of my favorite artists, Peter Doig, said about his work. He said, "If I painted without mistakes, each work would come to its resolution without emotional stretch. It would begin and end in the same mood." And then he also said, "There is no such thing as accidents, only incidents." And I like that a lot in terms of my own work. I don't ever like to be totally in control of a painting, and often do something irrational to the piece and process just to make me think that I can't be trusted. And the rest of the painting is working to get that trust back. And that creates a good tension for me in the studio. It keeps it from getting boring, which, if I'm bored, it inevitably leads to boring paintings. So for me right now, working with the landscape is a bit of a cultural commentary about suburbia, but mostly it's just a way for me to preserve my own personal history and memory. I remember in high school hearing that writers say that you should write what you know, and I like to paint what I know, and I use collections and things from my life as a way to do that. Meaning and order eventually emerge from disorder. And I found this quote by de Kooning that helped me sum it up. He said, "The idea that nature is chaotic and that the artist puts order into it is an absurd point of view. All we can hope for is to put order into ourselves." Thanks. Questions? Julia? Well, I realized for me as a painter and having that experience of growing up in suburbia, I went through different phases of reacting to it negatively and then being objective and seeing it maybe as something I wanted to paint. And I think in a lot of things I read, there was a lot of really really negative things about just the blanket idea of suburbia. And I think I didn't want to imply that or have someone feel that I was trying to I guess I was definitively ambiguous in terms of not having a sense of deciding for you. And that was tricky for me to not project. I guess I projected how I felt at different parts, but I didn't want to have my own sense of morality of whether it was right or wrong or if it was raping the natural landscape, but it was something that I was just trying to keep a balance of. So I don't know if that came across, but anyone else?
Yeah. What's your inspiration? Do you actually have literal landscapes, or is it just an idea?
Well, it depends on which work. A lot of the more recent stuff that's really stripped down